So today we're going to talk about what it means to be positive in our virtual classroom. Our goal is to show pride by being positive, and then you will know you have it when you explain one way you filled someone's bucket today, and that'll make more sense after the lesson. Just to kind of go over this real quick, a learning target is our focus for the day, and our success criteria is how you know that you're a 3, that you understand what I was trying to teach you. So, to be positive, you need to come to each lesson with a positive attitude, or each meeting with a positive attitude. Coming onto a meeting, kicking, screaming isn't going to be very positive, and you need to try your best. There are things that are going to be frustrating, like this morning or Wednesday morning when the Google Classroom wasn't working or the virtual classroom wasn't working. You just need to try your best. That's all I ever asked. Sometimes I'm going to ask you questions that might make you think a little bit more than you really want to. I promise I won't ask you anything I don't think you can do. If you really are having a hard time, ask for help. To be positive when you're doing your own work, you need to be open to new ways of learning, which means we're going to be using different websites and features like the Google Forms and a few other ones as we go throughout the year. And they may be different to you and you might not like them as much, but I need you to try them and be open to them. For communication, you can be positive by keeping messages appropriate, so you're only saying school-appropriate things, and encouraging others. To help you understand what it means when I say to keep messages appropriate, before you speak or type in our situation, you need to think. So each letter of the word think stands for something you should keep in mind before you speak or type something in our classroom setting. First, you need to think, is it true? If it's a lie, don't say it. Is it helpful? Is what you're saying actually helping someone else? Is it inspiring? So is it making someone feel good or giving them an idea? N, is it necessary? Do you really need to comment that right now? And K, is it kind? I probably knew in your head already. It needs to be nice and respectful. I want to go back to what I saw yesterday in Google Classroom, helpful and necessary. Your comments need to be helpful or necessary to other kids, which means that we're not typing comments like a bunch of random letters that don't make sense. We're not typing random things because those are not necessary, those are not really inspiring, and they're not helping anyone answer questions. When you type things like that on there, what you're doing is when other people have questions, their questions are getting lost because I'm getting 40 notifications and I'm missing the question that was asked, and I'm seeing a bunch of other comments that are just random letters or not making any sense. So if your comment on Google Classroom is not true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, or kind, it will be deleted. You will get 2 warnings, and then I can block you individually from commenting on Google Classroom. This book is one of my favorite books to show you ways to spread positivity throughout your day and your life. You might have read this before, and if you have, let's just listen to it again and refresh our memory on what it's about. And if you haven't read it, welcome to one of my favorite books. Have you filled a bucket today? All day long, everyone in the world walks around carrying an invisible bucket. So I want you to picture that in your mind, that everyone around you has an invisible bucket. Mine's purple and turquoise mixed in colors. What color is your bucket? You can't see it, but it's there. You have a bucket. Each member of your family has a bucket. So I want you to picture your bucket again, and then picture all their buckets. And look at, even the dog has a bucket. Your grandparents, friends, and neighbors all have a bucket. Everyone carries an invisible bucket. It's a big pogo stick over there. Grandpa's got 2 buckets. Your bucket has only one purpose. Your bucket has one purpose only. Its purpose is to hold your good thoughts and good feelings about yourself. So all of these stars and hearts inside the buckets are the good thoughts and feelings about themselves. So just looking at this picture, these 2 people have a lot of good thoughts about themselves. You feel very happy and good when your bucket is full. You feel very sad and lonely when your bucket is empty. So think about that. Think about times where you feel super happy. It's usually because you feel really good about yourself and the things going on. And when you think about times where you feel kind of sad, it's usually because things really aren't going your way. You might be lonely. Other people feel the same way too. They're happy when their buckets are full, and they're sad when their buckets are empty. So sometimes you can look at someone or talk to them and you know that they're sad. Maybe their bucket's empty. Or if someone's super, super happy that day, maybe their bucket's really full. It's great to have a full bucket, and this is how it works. So obviously it feels really good to feel really good about yourself and be super happy. You need other people to fill your bucket, and other people need you to fill theirs. So how do you fill a bucket? So the rule of this is you can't fill your own bucket. You can't go to the mirror and tell yourself how awesome you are, even though you should do that every day. That doesn't fill your bucket. You need to get it from other people. You fill a bucket when you show love to someone, when you say or do something kind, or even when you give someone a smile. So something as simple as a smile can fill a bucket. Yesterday when I was meeting with a bunch of you guys on Zoom, and even this morning, when I saw your smile, I felt better. It filled my bucket a little bit. So just something as simple as a smile. It looks like this person's like holding an umbrella out over top of this other girl, maybe keeping the rain off her. That fills her bucket. When you help out around the house, that fills your family's bucket. When you are nice to your brother or sister, that fills their buckets. That's called being a bucket filler, and that's called spreading positivity, spreading happiness. A bucket filler is a loving, caring person who says or does nice things that make others feel special. So it's not always doing something for someone. Sometimes it can be something as simple as saying like, "Great job today," or "You look beautiful," or "Thank you for doing that for me." When you make someone feel special, you are filling a bucket. How is she making her feel special? How is the girl with the blonde hair making, I'm going to call it grandma or the mom, feel special? By giving her flowers. But you can also dip into a bucket and take out some good feelings. You dip into a bucket when you make fun of someone, when you say or do mean things, or even when you ignore somebody. That's being a bucket dipper. So when you're mean to someone, you actually take away from their bucket. A bully is a big bucket dipper. A bucket dipper says or does mean things that make others feel bad. And I'm sure we've all ran across somebody that was being a bucket dipper at the time. Many bucket dippers have an empty bucket. So look at his bucket. It's empty. They think they can fill their own bucket by dipping into someone else's, but that will never work. So they don't know the secret yet. They don't know that the only way to fill it is by making other people feel good. So they think that they're just going to, when he was up here, he was just going to push this guy down and steal his good feelings. Well, that didn't work. It kind of looks like they all kind of like evaporated or melted. You never fill your own bucket when you dip into somebody else's. But guess what? When you fill someone's bucket, you fill your own bucket too. You feel good when you help others feel good. So yesterday, if you gave me a smile and filled my bucket, it also filled yours up too. Or that time that you held open the door for the person behind you going in the store, and you filled their bucket, and then you filled your bucket too. Or that time you shared with your brother or sister, even though you really didn't want to, filled both of your buckets. You'll feel very sad and lonely when your bucket is empty. All day long, we are either filling up or dipping into each other's buckets by what we say and what we do. So if you think about that, think about a bad day that you've had. Maybe your bucket was empty. Maybe you just weren't feeling that great about things going on. How could you fix it? You can go and start trying to fill other people's buckets. You can turn your day around. Try to fill a bucket and see what happens. And this is going to be our job today. You love your mom and dad. Why not tell them you love them? You can even tell them why. Your caring words will fill their buckets right up. Watch for smiles to light up on their faces. You will feel like smiling too. A smile is a good clue that you have filled a bucket. If you practice, you will become a great bucket filler. And I always say every year in my class, I want us to be a class of bucket fillers all the time. Just remember that everyone carries an invisible bucket and think of what you can say or do to fill it. Here are some ideas for you. You could smile and say hi to the bus driver. He has a bucket too. You could invite the new kid at school to play with you, or maybe your neighbor or your cousin, or maybe your little brother or sister that you don't usually let play with you. You could write a thank you note to your teacher. You could also write one to your parents. If somebody else watches you during the day, you could write to your brother or sister, your grandma, your aunts, your cousins, anyone. You could tell your grandpa that you like to spend time with him. There are many ways to fill a bucket. Bucket filling is fun and easy to do. It doesn't matter how young or old you are. It doesn't cost any money. It doesn't take much time. And remember, when you fill someone else's bucket, you fill your own bucket too. So this morning when I had all those issues on Google Classroom, well, it'd be yesterday morning now because you're watching it on Thursday. So on Wednesday morning when I had all those issues on Google Classroom, I felt my bucket getting very empty. I was very stressed because I was trying to get the assignments to work. And put on there like they were supposed to be. So then I was aware of that my bucket was getting empty, so I looked for ways to fill other people's buckets to cheer myself back up again. So I went and talked to Mrs. Rourke, and I shared that I liked how her classroom was set up, and I messaged some parents, and we had some good conversations, and eventually my bucket was full, and now I'm feeling happy and ready to go again. So you can turn your day around if you're feeling like your bucket's empty. You're a bucket filler. You make your home, your school, and your neighborhood a better places to be. Bucket filling makes everyone feel good. So imagine that if everyone is bucket filling, if everywhere you went people were smiling at you, helping you out, imagine like how happy everybody would be. So why not decide to be a bucket filler today and every day? Just start by saying to yourself, I'm going to do something to fill someone's bucket. And at the end of the day, ask yourself, did I fill a bucket today? Yes, I did. That's the life of a bucket filler. And that is you. And if you're thinking, no, it's not, I'm telling you, it's going to be. The end. And then it says, think about it. We're a bucket filling school. We fill buckets, no dipping. So your assignment for today is there's two things. First, I want you to brainstorm some things that fill your bucket. So what makes you happy? So I know that when my cat cuddles with me, that makes me happy. When I get to hang out with my friends or family, that makes me happy. When someone says, great job, that makes me happy. So I want you to think of some things that fill your bucket. You need to write down at least one thing in this box. And I also want you to think of some things that might dip into your bucket. So things that maybe, if someone says something mean to you or says they don't like what you're doing. So think of a couple things that dip in your bucket when the technology fails and doesn't work. Trying to think of some things that might dip into your bucket. So maybe someone takes something that's yours, or maybe when something breaks. Things like that. So think of one thing that fills your bucket and one thing that dips in your bucket and type in these boxes. Then the last page is your job for today. Your job is to fill 3 people's buckets. So you can get up and go do that right now. But when you're done, I want you to tell me in these boxes what you did. If you're typing, if it goes outside of the star, that is okay. Like it can go out forever, I don't care. I'll still be able to read it when I'm checking them later. So I want you to fill 3 people's buckets. You could call someone to do it. So you could maybe call grandma and say, hey, I really like when we make cookies together. You could do it right at your house. Fill 3 people's buckets today. That's your job. And then write what you did here. Also on here, I want to tell you a couple of things. If you are typing here and you accidentally delete this, it's gone. There's a magic button up here. It's called the undo button. It will undo anything that you just did. So if you accidentally delete something, go here to this undo button and it'll bring it back. Secondly, I think that was it though. Thought I had another thing, but I can't remember. Okay, that's it for right now. When you're done, make sure you turn this in. Thank you.